I give you this vagina cream so you can rub it on your snatch because you're all
Welcome to the Driven Podcast. In this episode, we'll talk about what I learned from my 7-day darkness retreat and how it affected my brain, because I did a brain scan before and after it. Secondly, our guru of the week, who calls himself the $1 trillion man.
gotta go boom, boom, kill your fucking parents, metaphorically speaking, of course.
And lastly, how multiple entrepreneurs have hacked the dating system to find the love of their life. In this one, I'm joined by my good friend and fellow entrepreneur, Imad. So put on your seatbelts, let's get into it. I recently reviewed the notes that I took. It was actually voice notes that I took during a 7-day darkness retreat that I did in 2020. That was one of the most intense experiences of my life. And I reviewed those, and it's surprising what I came up with. Especially also seeing how it shifted from day 1 to then day 3 to day 7, where you see my character break down. I went in with a completely different intention, and the whole thing broke me. And I think what most people don't know when they hear about this darkness retreat thing is that it's actually a mind-altering journey that ranges from anywhere between hallucinations, you see, some shapes in the dark, to full-blown exogenous DMT releases in the brain. DMT is actually something that your brain can naturally release. And so I thought it would be a really cool idea for the video to also take a brain scan before and after the experience, because my friend that I did this with, one of the friends I did this with, he had a brain scanner that he got for his business because he's like a high performance coach, and it's a really good business move, honestly. It's just like scanning people's brains and entrepreneurs' brains and seeing how they can optimize it. And the changes from before and after the darkness retreat were massive. The doctor that reviewed it was like, we may have to write this up as a paper because this is incredible. And for anyone listening to this, careful, because you might want to sign up for one after hearing this, or you might be so traumatized from what I'm going to tell you, from what happened to us, that you're going to be like, okay, I'm never doing any meditation retreat like this. I know you've done Vipassana, right? 10 days, which is, I think, a different experience than this. But yeah, I'm curious to hear your experience from that as well. But this darkness retreat is basically 7 days. You're alone in a completely dark room that is built to let zero light in, no light at all, right? And you have nothing to do other than sit with your thoughts. You have no idea what time it is, and you're being fed twice a day from the facilitators, where they basically put your food through this box that has 2 doors, and they open the door on their end, put it into the box, and then they close it, then they knock, and then you open the box on your end, so it's still completely blacked out. And think of this as doing 3 tough things at once. Number 1, 7 days of doing nothing, which is like a meditation retreat, like dopamine detox, whatever you want to call it. Secondly, it's a complete darkness. You see nothing, so it's also sensory deprivation. And thirdly, you're completely alone in one room. So it's solitary confinement as well. Now, the brain scanner. One of my friends, he had a brain scanner, and he was like, okay, let's scan our brains before and after. And the brain scanner is basically, the device is called a WAVI brain scanner. It uses EEG to measure your brain health, the brain performance, cognitive function, processing speed, your age. And it basically gives you insights into your ability to learn, impact of stress and fatigue on the brain, and it looks at different brainwave frequencies, delta, alpha, beta, all these, and then also which parts of the brain communicate with each other, which have a good connection. And it evaluates the balance and strength of brainwave activity, yada, yada, yada. So a bunch of stuff. And together we're getting ready for this experience. We're like, okay, 7 days, darkness retreat. What should we expect? Again, like I said, things to expect are anything between hallucinations and DMT release. So because the brain no longer processes any visual input, you don't see anything, it leads to a significant reduction in any sensory distractions. And so you have this heightened internal experience, right? Imagination, vivid mental imagery. The reason why you experience hallucinations and all the way to a DMT release is because of a melatonin increase. Melatonin is the hormone that rises when, the sun goes down, you wind down, but this is a completely unnatural environment to be in, to have zero light exposed. So the melatonin rises in your brain.
Yeah.
It is hypothesized that these elevated levels of melatonin in complete darkness could be a precursor for endogenous DMT synthesis in the pineal gland. And it's not conclusively proven yet. Some researchers believe that prolonged darkness does enhance the ability to produce trace amounts of DMT. And DMT, for those of you who don't know, it's the stuff that's in ayahuasca that every spiritual girl here in Austin talks about. Everyone's done ayahuasca. So DMT is called the God molecule, right? Because I think Mike Tyson, he was also explaining his experience as living 1,000 lifetimes. And he's just like, oh God, like he thought he was dead. I've never done it, never done ayahuasca. Haven't been called to yet, because you have to be called to do it, right?
Do it. Now you got called. All right, now what? next video. No. We'll do the next podcast on DMT and ayahuasca. That would be one.
When you do something like this, you also look up some stories on like, okay, what should I be careful of? Like, are there any dangers? And I'll tell you what, rule number one when you do a darkness retreat, do not watch any horror movies beforehand.
Okay.
Because here's the thing. Because of the rise in melatonin, you get into this dreamlike state. I don't know if you've ever had sleep paralysis, or you've been in this state between sleeping and waking where you just hear some stuff and you're like, wait, am I awake? Am I asleep? And you just hear someone come into the room and you can't move, and just like, it's just weird stuff. Imagine that for days on end. Because you're in this like woozy state where you're just like, what is even real anymore? Because again, melatonin is high in the brain, and a bunch of people, like when we looked it up online, a bunch of people were seeing dark figures, right? They have demons jumping out in the dark, or even just like swirling geometric patterns that, bright flashes, anything like that just feels like it's very invasive. And it's definitely an experience that we had. So there's one person that reported the crawling shadow, right? A participant reported seeing a shadowy figure that crawled closer and closer every time they looked in its direction, eventually feeling like it was sitting next to them in the dark. They couldn't shake the feeling of being watched for days afterward.
Terrifying.
So this is the stuff that I would read before. So I'm like, fun. This is going to be a great YouTube video, right? That's all I'm thinking about at that point. I'm like, yeah, content. Another one is the demon sitting on your back. Just this person that reported having like this demon that was like sitting on its back and just like breathing into its ear and like whispering and stuff like that. And it's just like, you're just stuck in this dark room and you're tripping and you think you have this thing in your back, right?
Can you leave whenever, like,
yeah,
if it's
of course.
too much? Okay, so they're not trapping you in there.
But here's the thing. If you know me, you know that it's not an option. And then another thing, this was my experience, is a flood of traumatic memories or just like looping thoughts, where you just have like these memories and emotions that were suppressed come up that you're just forced to deal with. And so we're looking for a specific place to do this at. And we picked one in a place called Mazunte, which is kind of like a darkness retreat hub, but it is a pain to get to. Looking out of the window, it just kind of looks like we're about to like look for a treasure, because it's like this jungle area, this tropical beach, right? And it just feels very remote. This is what the room looked like. My intention for this darkness retreat is, one, of course, I want to get a viral video out of this. Like I'm here to document this thing, right? I had like a night vision camera for this. But my intention personally was, okay, I want to get in touch with my vision and get really clear on what I want out of life and who I want to become. That was like, that's it. I want to connect with my future vision, my future self, and really marinate on that. It's like, okay, where do I go from here in my life? I was 24, 25 at the time. And we end up going in. And it's this weird moment where, the door closes and you're like, all right, this is it now? Like, am I doing this now? 7 days? And slowly reality kicks in. And you notice the first challenges being in the dark room. First of all, in the beginning, you feel like, okay, I have 7 days of this left. Like, how, am I going to make it? Am I going to be okay? Right? What's going to happen to me? But then there's also these simple challenges, because everything is difficult without light. The first thing when you enter a room and you can't see is like, okay, where's the light? Where's the light? You pull out your phone, when you can't do that, you're like, damn. Navigating in the room, they had these little stones on the floor that helped you find the bathroom. First few days, you just get used to it. You meditate, did some yoga. And what I noticed was I was forcing my intentions. I was like, okay, let's think about what I want and what I want my life to look like, who I want to become. And when I look at my notes now, I only got really surface level reflections. And the funny thing is, the first few days is just about What am I going to do with my business? How I'm going to change up my routine, packaging for videos, stuff like that. Like just like really surface level stuff. Over time, you see the darkness kind of breaking me down, because this is what happened. Day 4, I'm still thinking about the same stuff. 4 days go by of me just sitting with my thoughts by myself, but then things start to shift. And slowly I start seeing weird patterns, right? Like one time I remember I see this white dot in the distance, and I was just like, what is that? There's some light coming through, but it wasn't light. It slowly started coming towards me, and it started getting bigger and bigger, like the moon, and then bigger and bigger, and it just like engulfed everything, and everything was white. And I was just like, what is happening? It went from that to like flickering things to like, I don't know, seeing things flying through the air like bats and stuff like that. It's just like this weird stuff where you're like, you know, when you rub your eyes and you just like look into what you see, right? It was that, but seeing it vividly in front of me. And just like, that's weird, right? And what ended up happening was that my mind started going into loops. And I had a bunch of insecurities come up and things that I didn't want to think about. And the battle that I was struggling with was, my intention was to think about who I want to become and these things. And I don't want to think about these things right now. At the time, I was getting into a new relationship. Just all these fears bubbled up about things like, just not feeling enough, lack of trust, fear of commitment. And ultimately, when I reflected back on it, and when I look at my notes now, it was really a fear of being loved, because then I have something to lose. And it's just that uncertainty of it. And just like, can I trust this or should I not trust this? And it's like this, if you look at my notes, it's this crazy back and forth, like a crazy person. I'm getting exhausted by this. I don't want to think about this anymore. And it's just like a looping. Because when you're in the dark, you have no place to escape to. You're just like, I'm going to have to confront this stuff right now. And I think it's one of the toughest things to do with meditation, right? Or probably the retreat that you went to as well. It's just like sitting with your thoughts. I think it's the most terrifying thing for people. Like, we do anything to escape our thoughts. That's why we eat food and overeat. That's why we watch movies. That's why we engage in any addictive behavior, right? Did you have a similar experience with your Vipassana 10-day experience?
So Vipassana, it's funny because, again, similar to you, I did it for my ego. I was like, yeah, my friend did it. He did it twice. I'm like, all right,
He did it 7 days. I'm going to do 10.
Yeah, it was like, it's easy. I'm like, yeah, this is going to be the easiest thing ever. You go, you sit, you meditate. How hard can that be? One of the dumbest thoughts I've ever had. You would think.
How hard can it be to do nothing, right?
Yeah. And I will say, just based on your experience, I think yours is definitely tougher. Just because they're different types of tough. Because imagine being in a room full of people that you can't connect with. You can't look at, you can't connect with, you can't talk to, and you're just isolated. It's like you're all ghosts in purgatory that are waiting for the next step. You're literally walking face down. And it was, honestly, the first day was okay. But after that, like I think day 5, I'll never forget. I was sitting in bed. I wanted to bang my head against the wall. I was going through like psychosis, and I was like, I belong in a mental hospital. I shouldn't be here. I don't know why I'm here. Everything, all the traumas, being not enough, being crazy, everything came up to a point where then I think day 7 hit, and I was in this state of numbness. Nothing mattered. And it was like, I felt like it was just like, we were making a joke about this last time we chatted about like psychopathic tendencies where you're just like numb. And literally, it's like I have thought of everything I could possibly think about. I thought of every relationship I've ever been in. I thought of every girl I've ever kissed. That's how like I got to like to the point where I thought of everything. When I used to love
Thought
Pokemon.
about all 2 girls, yeah.
All 3, actually, get it right. Okay, let's not push it. All right, now for the audience. All right, guys, 3.5. All right. Like I remember, I think day 9 and day 10, I just couldn't think of anything. And then when I left, I still couldn't think of anything. I couldn't have thoughts because I'm like, what am I going to think about? My brain was just silent. And it was silent because it was just working in overdrive. Consistently.
But it wasn't a peaceful experience for you.
It was amazing at the end. After day 8.
In that moment, it sounds like it was numb.
Yeah. Because after day 10, or after like when I left, it was just peace. I was in euphoric state for 3 days. I actually couldn't eat any food outside of, because we were just having organic, healthy food, and it was all vegetarian. I literally remember coming back and eating meat and getting sick. It was insane. Like, my body was just not used to anything unhealthy, anything toxic. I didn't look at my phone. I just had to be in that state of just complete bliss and peace. And everything outside, I didn't realize how much the outside world screwed us up. Like, everything. And this is why you look at monks, and I think there was this like the study that showed that like monks are super happy, but the reason why they're super happy is because they're in environments that are conducive to their happiness, where they're away from everything, they're by themselves. But if you take a monk and you put him in New York City, watch what happens to his happiness levels after 7 days. No matter how much of a monk he is, somebody flicking you off as soon as they come by, or a homeless man pooping in the freaking garbage can, looking at you smiling, like somehow, some way, something's gonna happen to you, and it's gonna like trigger something in you.
He's pooping in a garbage can and he's smiling at you.
Dude, listen, super side note before we get into this. I'll never forget this day. I went back to New York 3 months ago, or a couple months ago, and I met this European couple that's visiting New York for the first time. And I was taking the subway back to like the city, because I love going in the subway when I go to New York. So we're walking downstairs to go to the subway. I'm with them, and the first thing I see is like an old lady taking a crap in literally the garbage can. And I look at there and I'm just like, I smiled. And then they were petrified. And I was sitting there, I'm like, it's good to be back. I felt New York. In that moment, I was like, you can't get this anywhere else. And then they were like, why are you so calm about this? I'm like, this is just another Tuesday. Dude, but it was insane. I did a float therapy session once, and I had like the blackout, the noise canceling, the everything, and even for like an hour, bro, I went insane. There was a moment where literally I hallucinated and I fell into this like deep meditative state that I forgot where I was, and I came out of it
In just an hour. Wow.
It was sensory deprivation at the fullest, and I was just floating. In that moment, I felt like what it would feel like if you died. And let me explain. Everything was dark. And in my head, I thought, if this was the end of life, this would be horrible. Because you were just existing. Nothing. You were just in nothing. And I couldn't imagine being in nothing for 7 days. Because, damn.
I would love to have someone on who has a near-death experience, or who has been dead and was brought back. Because I think the consistent experience is that they felt a tremendous amount of love and peace. So,
definitely not that.
No, it's not what you felt in that moment. But yeah, I think I went through a very similar experience, especially with the idea of I thought about everything.
Oh.
Because the final days, I would say day 5 and 6 and 7, starting day 5, what I did was I went through my entire life. Because I'm just like, you know what? I'm here now. I got nothing to do. And, I realized maybe I shouldn't be running from these thoughts that are popping up. And I got curious. And I just thought back on what my earliest memory was, what it was like growing up, right? And really remembering everyone who's played a part in my life. Every single person that, like my family, obviously parents, siblings, step-parents that I had throughout the years, childhood friends, and just in general obstacles that I was facing at different ages, like parents divorced when I was 4. Elementary school was terrifying. There was so much uncertainty for me. I had a really rough time back then with school and just like fear around the future, worries about my health as a kid, first crush, first girlfriend, first heartbreak, and even just thinking about inside jokes that I had with my family and friends. Just so many throughout the years that I forgot. Just in general, memories that I never thought about again, and that I remembered again. And just seeing how important it is to be silly and have fun with people you love. And just like, I remembered so many things that I had forgotten. And I realized this was probably one of the biggest lessons that I took away. When you have the time to sit down and really think about your entire life, you realize how long life is. Life is so long. Everyone says life is really short. It's actually not. We just forget. We just forget 99% of things. And there's so much, like, we've all lived multiple lifetimes. If you think about your lifetime as okay, this is what I did in my life, and you look at all the memories that you have at your disposal right now, you have a multitude of those things in your life already. You just forgot about most of them. And so I remember then I felt a really deep pain in my chest of nostalgia, of just like how important relationships are, friendships, and just like how every moment just happened and it'll never come back. And I had this sense of eternal loneliness. Everyone I thought about going through my life there wasn't in my life anymore. They were virtually dead for me. And anyone who was in my life at that point had only known me for 1 or 2 or 3 years. Also, given that, you know, I've moved countries multiple times, that always throws a wrench into building long-term relationships. But I realized, man, I want to build long-term friendships that last a lifetime. And like that just became really, really present for me. And then, I mean, I had a bunch of other thoughts about how much uncertainty or the fear of uncertainty has really fucked up my life as a kid, and just how much joy it robbed from me. And just like looking at the notes that I took, it's just like, man, there's some really deep reflections that I get to really review on a continuous basis, so I don't lose these because they're so fundamentally important. And I think this is also where I had a big realization of how I've been a pessimist all my life, up until that point, or even just like, especially when I was younger, thinking that I was just a realist. But when I reflected back on all the things I was worried about in the past, nothing became true. 99% of the things, they never became true, and it was just unnecessary worry. And for the few things that did become true, for example, one of my fears was, oh, what if this relationship doesn't work out while I'm in Australia and then I'm forced to leave the country? That actually did happen. But now I'm in the US. I'm so glad that happened, right? I look back and I'm like, man, like everything, like I'm always exactly where I'm meant to be. It was just profound, you know? So I think you mentioned that too, that the obstacle thing that you told me about, that kind of connects for me, that idea. Do you remember that?
Which obstacle thing? That
basically any problem that we have, we choose it. We actually want that, because when you take away all problems and you have the perfect, you remember that story?
Yeah. The one about Alan Watts.
Yes, that was from Alan Watts, right?
So for like all the viewers listening, I'm a very big fan of Alan Watts, and I think Alan Watts is one of the most profound like New Age philosophers of our time. He said this in one of his lectures. He said, imagine you went to sleep and you dreamed, and that dream put you in a world where you lived 80 years. And every night you had a dream, you would live 80 years.
Or so you live 150 years if you're a biohacker. But keep
whatever it is. And when you're starting those dreams, everything is perfect. Like your whole life is perfect. You go every single day, everything works out. You win the lottery, you get the person of your dreams. And it's just consistently, just everything is successful over and over again. And you do this for maybe 1,000 years. And then maybe after 1,000 years or 1,000 dreams, you come back and you say, you know what? Let's add one problem. And then you have that dream and you experience that one problem, and you wake up and you're like, oh, whew, that was good. You know what? Maybe I want 2 problems. Then the next day you do 2 problems, and you just keep continuing to add more and more problems until you realize you're living the life that you wanted right now, that you chose for yourself. And it puts you in this perspective where you're like, holy F. I am literally the creator of every single solution, every single problem in my life.
What do you think my experience was coming out of the thing? Because here's the thing. Spoiler alert, I did not have a full-blown DMT experience. I didn't. However, my friend did. Coming out of that experience, when you know it's day 7, and I had a bit of an idea because of the meals that we're getting, right? The meals were kind of like the sign that, okay, it's I think it's day 5 now, day 6 now. When I woke up on day 7, it was childlike joy. Like, I can get out of here. I can do things again. I can stimulate myself again. after going through all this mental torture of these looping thoughts that I didn't want to think about, all these insecurities came up and all this stuff, the experience of seeing light again was wild. So it started out with a lighter that we got and a little candle. And when I lit that lighter up, it was like a flashbang. It was playing Counter-Strike, the flashbang. We just like everything's super bright. It was so bright it really hurt my eyes. And then I put this candle on the table and just like slowly opened my eyes and looked at it. The candle, it was stable on the table. It was moving this much. That's how delirious I was. It was literally like, imagine, like, for those of you who are just listening, imagine like me drawing circles in front of my face right now, like that are about the size of like four face, like your face times 4. I don't know if I'm describing this well, but it was just moving like from up and down, left and right, and coming out of the room, the sun was coming up. I was so dizzy, I could barely walk. It was wild how much it affected just the brain. And so then connecting with my buddies, one of them got food poisoning. That really sucked. Like flying to Mexico only to get really sick on day 4 or 5 because of the food, and then you have to get out. So he was already chilling. The other one had a full-on DMT experience, like a full-on release where it was day 6, I think. And it started out with him just having like an overwhelming emotions just taken over, and he was just crying really intensely. And then he just felt this like inner energy, this light and this inner nirvana, and it just like engulfed him. And then intense hallucinations started kicking in. He saw grids, he saw lights. He said it felt like looking into another realm. And he had like he saw people in the dark. Like his mother was there. He was having conversations with him. He saw things. He saw demons, and it was a really intense experience for him. And he said if that kept going, I would have had to leave the room because it was so intense. Like he had a full on like. So yeah, I didn't have that, but he talked about that, and that was phenomenal. So the brain scan, we scanned our brains after that, and sent it to the doctor. Got it reviewed by him. He had looked at thousands of brain scans before, and so for my specific brain scan, it made sense why I had these recurring thoughts. Because here's what he said when he saw my before scan. He said there was zero emotional recall when my brain was calm. Specifically in delta brain waves, there were certain regions of my brain that weren't communicating, that weren't connected. Because you see these connections, these lines that go in between certain areas of the brain where it's like mapped. And what he said, that makes him think of a PTSD pattern or some sort of emotional trauma when those are disconnected. And so there's something stuck there. And then after that, after the experience, those were lit up, like they were communicating again. And it was like these parts of the brain were healed. I mean, not healed in the physical sense, I guess, but in the sense that they were communicating again. And what my hypothesis is that I worked on some trauma or some stuff that I didn't want to think about. And my subconscious had time and space to work on it, because like you have nothing to do and you have all these open tabs in your brain, like all this stuff that you have stored up that you keep distracting yourself with food and whatever and day-to-day to-do lists. It's just like, okay, now time to dig up the dirt and get through it. So I think that's really what it did. And overall, our brains performed much better than before. And again, the doctor said we might have to write this up as a paper because it's incredible what you've done to your brains.
Dude, I want to do it.
You want to do it?
I want to do it.
Why?
Ego.
You want to do 8 days? Here's the thing. There were people who did it for 30 days plus. And here's the thing. The guy who owned the place, he said there were people who did it beginning of February 2020. And they did it for months. You know what happened in the middle of it? After 30 days of being in the dark room, because it was February 2020, they got a knock on the door. They were like, hey, so there's currently a worldwide pandemic that broke out. We don't know what's going to happen. Do you want to stay in? What would you have done? Imagine you're in the dark room and you just
coming out.
because you don't know you're coming out.
I'm coming out.
Here's the thing:
100%.
we barely had any idea what was going to happen. I mean, looking at the news and all these predictions and whatnot. Imagine being in the dark room and somebody just knocks on your door. Like my mind would have immediately gone. I mean, I've seen too many video games and movies. I'm like, I would have been like, okay, that's the zombie apocalypse, and I'm stuck in a dark room, just like tripping balls on my own DMT.
What happened to them? So, what?
They kept going.
And what was the results? I would love to kind of hear what happens to them after a month of doing that.
Great question. No idea. No idea. But I think you gotta have a lot of time and yeah. But yeah, that was the dark retreat experience. So heavy topic. Hopefully it was interesting. I want to try out a new segment. This is a new topic that I want to, if it ends up being interesting and entertaining, make it a weekly thing. And I call it the Guru of the Week. There's so many incredible people that we can learn from online that there's just some gems, and this is a guru that is making waves. He's one of the most controversial business high performance people. He's called the $50 billion man, but actually he rebranded recently. Maybe not too recently, but he rebranded now to the $1 trillion man. So whatever he did in that time period, apparently made him a lot of money. You've heard of Dan Pena before.
100%.
This guy is hilarious. Here's the thing. It's funny, but at the same time, I kind of like this guy, but then I also feel really bad when I watch him, and I'm just like, man, like this is a real problem here. But at the same time, he's one of the funniest people. Watch the go ahead.
He's an old man. He's done it all. Let the man live. I have to always tell people, I'm like, at this point, when you're his age, you have the money he has. Say whatever you want to say. He's like your old kind of like, I don't want to say it, but your grandpa that was like in like the world wars that like has a view of life, and you just like, this is just the way it's been for like ever, and he just like won't move on to the new age.
All right, let the man live. Let him say what he wants to say.
That's
I'll put a pin in that, and let's watch these clips. This here is the way that he walks into a seminar.
You are you are nobody likes you 'cause you are
He's walking in.
You are often you useless.
Love that.
To me, you're all cunts. And when I say cunt, you're a coward.
So here's the thing. This guy lives in the Guthrie Castle in Scotland. It's a 15th century castle worth tens of millions of dollars. According to some tabloid website, it's like $32 million. And he purchased it in 1984 for approximately £620,000, which is roughly $750,000 at the time. And it's pretty baller. I mean, can't really deny that, okay, he's got some money from somewhere, right? And man, like this character is just fascinating to me. This is where he lives.
That's insane. $700,000 for that?
Yeah, I mean 19 whatever, I don't know. Jeez. I mean the man's old, right? He's seen a lot of stuff.
Jeez. Go to California, you'll get a 1-bedroom house in the middle of the worst neighborhood.
Right. Right. But yeah, this is where he lives. I mean, I would go to the seminar for entertainment value. I'm just like, okay, I want to see this guy. Like, I'm just here for the fun.
Do you want to do it next year?
Cream so you can rub it on your snatch, because you're all c***s. And everybody you know is a c***. Don't you understand that? Do you know anybody with any balls whatsoever?
Watch this.
We have a very high dropout rate during the 1 year free. That's somebody's phone? Turn it off before I shove it up your ass. That's not fair enough. I'm not asking for your validation, moron. I got an email from some Muslim guy today that said I slagged off Allah. Go off. I slag everybody off, kid. So you can just go yourself. You can't help yourself. You ought to go. Okay, go home, mother. Boom, boom. Kill your parents, metaphorically speaking.
That was Metaphorically speaking, that like little plug-in, that was perfect. That was perfect.
Just covering
Uh,
the lower side. Here's the thing. I found multiple clips of him doing this exact thing. Metaphorically speaking, of course.
His PR team is working overtime to protect his ass.
Yes.
100%.
I mean, you can't deny this. He's really, really funny.
100%.
Like, he is really, really entertaining to watch. I'll give you more background about him later, like what he actually does and stuff like that. But like, just watching this,
They fuck you up. I'm giving you a way to
Wow.
yourself. You got loser DNA. And I'm trying to give you a template to fight off that loser. Goddamn, like the devil's gonna make me do it. Gotta fight that loser off.
Yeah, but we have to go.
But it's in your Aussie brain.
We have to do it.
You ask the same questions. You're an insecure old man. It's that simple. God damn it. How many times do I have to tell you?
it seems like universities are booking him to present on stage, like Boston University and stuff like that, and he's just like going off like crazy. Like, I don't know how does how does this happen with universities if they just book this guy? Look at this one.
We ought to just line, this cement wall. We ought to just line all your parents up there. Ah! Cut them down like the fucking dogs that they are.
Jesus. Jesus, that's wild. You know what's funny? One of my old mentors was mentored by him. So, like, I've watched Dan Pena literally when he started blowing up initially. Dude, I watched his stuff all the time.
I watched it too. I saw it.
Dude,
I watched it for entertainment value.
Dude, it was great.
I knew a guy who went through his program.
Yep.
I can tell you that guy was not it.
Well, here's the thing, man. One of my like OG mentors, when I was like back in the dating game, I mean, can we use names?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So Jason Capital got mentored by him, and I gotta say, man, Jason Capital
Who's Jason
taught me.
Capital?
He was like this dating coach who was also a very successful like email marketer and copywriter in the digital marketing space. It's funny because during like the pickup days where like you had like Mystery, Neil Strauss, all the guys that were like invented pickup. He
Pickup meaning
like how to
picking
like
up women, seduction,
picking up women.
dating stuff for guys.
Yeah, and the Jason Capital, he had a very different spin to it, similar but very different. And dude, he had a lot of very good communication like skills where I used a lot of it to kind of like just build my communication skills in college. So I loved a lot of his work, but I realized he was trained by him. And what he mentioned in one of his seminars is like he didn't actually learn anything from him. What he learned is how to toughen up. Like it's like Dan Pena is like a military like general. Like you go there so you can like unfuck yourself. So you can like get rid of your like and I quote pussy tendencies. That's the whole premise. So like made yourself where it got you disciplined. You had to show up a specific way. You couldn't fidget. Like you couldn't like it, and he basically was like making these like boys into men. And in making them into men, they became savages in whatever they do because they followed those kind of principles and they always reminded themselves, what would he say about me right now if I did this? And that was the biggest shift.
Therapy. It sounds like shock therapy where you do something so tough and so challenging that anything after that is like easy. Like me going into this business negotiation, it's like, I'm not sitting in front of Dan Pena right now screaming at me while my phone's ringing.
100%.
I just think there's so many more better things he could do. But I mean, hey, if it works for people, I don't know. I mean, here's the thing. Looking at the background of this guy, he made his money with a company called Great Western Resources, an oil and gas exploration company. Supposedly started with $820. And then under his leadership, the company expanded significantly. And by 1992, so 10 years after founding it, was listed on the London Stock Exchange with a market capitalization of $450 million.
Wild.
So yeah, is that true? I don't know, right? We don't know. But so this is a 7-day intensive workshop, $21,000 to attend. And it is about how to build massive wealth through acquisitions, deal making, and leveraging capital. So did the guy learn anything? I'm just imagining this guy screaming at me that I'm a cunt and that I'm worthless and that my mother's a whore and that he wants to kill her and stuff like that.
Love that.
And then in the meantime, I'm just like, but Dan, how do I go buy a company? Okay, I have a question about the acquisition stuff. No, you're a cunt. I'm just like ready to take notes.
You'll never buy a business because your mother's a whore.
I don't know, man. I think it attracts a lot of men who didn't have strong fathers growing up, and they need some daddy energy.
100%. Dude, I mean, listen, I think
I think that's the case for a lot of guys, but I had a strong, tough dad growing up. There were a lot of intense moments where, you know, it's like, yeah, I had to like toughen up as a kid, and yeah, I mean, at the same time, it has value. My sports teacher in 5th grade reminds me of him. He was intense. My sports teacher, if you forgot your sports equipment going into school, you were in for a ride. And what he would do the first time he would be exposed to a new class, he would literally take someone and like break them down in front of everyone. Just to be clear, nobody messes with me here.
Is that
And when
legal?
he entered the room, what?
Is that legal?
Well,
5th grader?
Here's the thing. It worked. Like, you had the class clowns who always had a, you know, clever comeback. Oh, they got torn into pieces in front of everyone. And he would like take 10, 20 minutes to do this. Like, just berate them and just like use a lot of like loud shouting and then intense silence and staring without blinking. And really like getting up in your face. And I'm telling you, the next lesson, 10 minutes before the lesson started, even the morning before, you could tell what students would have a lesson with him later on in the day because they were on edge. They were ready. And everyone was sitting straight, focused, and you could literally hear the air hissing before he walked into the room because everyone was quiet and on a high alert. And crazy results he got. He got crazy results for the student. Because everyone was just like, yeah, and just like, but here's the thing, people really tried. And man, I mean, I built a lot of confidence because I ended up being the top student in sports. And you know, in sports, it's so easy to get an A+. Like every teacher's, I don't know how it is in the US, but in Germany, everyone gives an A or an A+. It's very easy to get or a B, right? With this guy, no, you had to hit certain metrics, and with him to get an A was like, you are phenomenal, and it really meant something with him. And it was like, man, there was a lot of pride, and there was a lot of like, if you can withstand this guy's intensity, he was actually very kind to you. And it was like earned respect. And it had weight. It meant something. And I think that really created a lot of confidence in kids. But it required that breaking down. So maybe that is the case with him too, you know?
Dude, no, I completely agree. I think that was something for me. Like, I didn't grow up with my family, so I grew up by myself. And it's crazy because I grew up around a lot of my parents left when I was really young. So when they left, I ended up like living by myself for a little bit, but then I lived with a lot of single mothers who had a lot of resentment towards men. So I was living in these situations where I was getting a lot of feminine tendencies. Hence why I was really good at communication, but I was also kind of like you know how like there's like the negative part of masculine energy and the negative part of feminine energy, and then the positive part of masculine energy, and like passive aggression is a negative part of feminine energy, where it's like it's repressed but it's not afraid to confrontation. And then like you have like envy, which is for masculine energy. And what's interesting is I started getting a lot of these tendencies, and I caught myself constantly being feminine in situations around women, situations around work, where I would take a step back because of how I was kind of raised. And I didn't actually tap into my masculine until I worked for one of the top sales companies in the whole entire industry, where I was literally going toe to toe with the top salespeople in the world at what they did, and they were ruthless. Like being in those sales team meetings, holy, like dude,
it builds character for life.
I remember, I'll never forget. I got fired from that company 2 months after for not being able to hold frame around like the multi-million-dollar clients. And that level of pain, I was like, I told myself, I was mad at myself, and I was like, I am never going to feel this pain again. And then I found a way to get my job bought that company back again. And I went back and I broke every single record you could possibly break. Because in my head, I was like, no way. And it just made me this fucking animal, this savage that just is like unfuckwittable. But I had to go through like that. That company was extremely masculine, and they had to like literally bring me back to my discipline, to stop being a little bitch, to stop like, and it's transformed me. But I have to say that was one of the most transformative. Yeah, I learned sales at a high level, but I also did something to my core that I could never get anywhere else. So like what he's doing, in a sense, he's breaking you down before he builds you up and tells you how to buy businesses. That's literally what he's doing.
Imagine this becomes the best technique for any program. It's just like, yeah, we want to teach people yoga. By the way,
you're all cunts.
It just works. Oh my God. Did you know he killed a bear with his bare hands?
I did not. I would love to see that video.
I hit him a couple times with the 4.54, and now he knows. So then he runs again, and so I chase him some more. And make a long story short, by the time I unloaded all 5, because it only has 5 shells, he's wounded. He would have died probably in an hour, 2 hours, but he's still dangerous. So then I jumped on him and stabbed him 70, 80 times.
Jesus Christ, Dan. 70 or 80 times?
I don't remember because the adrenaline's pumping so hard. The hunter guide said my arm looked like a jackhammer. It was going up and down so fast. But I mean, I'm just I'm just jacked up.
Where are you stabbing him? What part of his body?
I stabbed him in the chest, around the head, the neck, in here. I was trying to hit a main artery.
And is he trying to bite you while you're doing this?
He's with the big claws, but I'm staying under the claw.
I don't know. Do you believe it?
No. Well, I believe it because he shot him. I believe it because he shot.
But it's
like
just
he said,
like, oh, he had the claws and stuff, how, just like sit under. I don't know, the way he tells the story is just like.
Honestly, I'm not gonna lie to you. I think the way he's telling a story is actually making it more believable. I mean, if people disagree, because here's the thing: if you shot him 3 times, he's already wounded. He's already dying. Like it's not like he's not dying. And at this point, like it's like you're at like what 10 HP left. You got to go in there and stab him 70 times. And if you're going there with a knife or whatever, like. Still dangerous as hell. I'm not gonna tell you to like go do it. But if it was just like you're fighting a bear with the knife, no shot in hell. This is like he's giving me like a Russian story where they like wrestle with the bears. Like no, you know what I mean? That's the Khabib. Khabib. Yeah, he's like nah, that's not happening. But like if you shot him 5 times, he was done. He goes and stabs him. Could be believable.
Here's the thing. I think the guy's hilarious. Listen, I got one more clip I want to show you. This is so funny. The delivery is so good. Oh, God. Let me show you this.
When you see me at the airport, don't come up and talk to me. Don't touch me. I don't give a shit if you live or die. My obsession is to drive as many of you lazy bastards across the goal line as humanly possible before I die. That's it. If I have to hurt you, spit on you, call your mother a whore, I don't care. Most of your mothers were whores. We'll get to that a little later.
Actually, we're going to get to that later. He already has it part of his presentation. Why your mother is so.
Can we dude? Let's just do something that involves him. Let's just do it.
I have him on the pod.
That's wild. I'm down. I'm
Yeah.
so down. I'm
Yes.
100% down. That would be an incredible podcast.
He was on Logan Paul's podcast as well.
That was an insane one. I saw that one a while back.
Yeah.
I saw that one. That was a funny one. And they were.
I just want to pull out the wildest stories of him.
Yeah.
Just want to
dude,
tell us the craziest things. Yeah.
I don't care about business acquisition, bro. That's fine. I can see a YouTube video on that. Right? Tell me. Give me the sauce. Jeez. He's a good one.
Final topic I wanted to run by you.
Hey, man.
I love hacking the system. I hate doing things the way that everyone else does them, especially when I see that everyone struggles with it. I'm like, okay, there's got to be a better solution. One of the most important decisions of your life, most people, I think, would agree. Who do you spend your life with?
Okay.
Your life partner. And I believe there are ways to hack it. But everyone's always like, you know what? They'll find you. You'll find them. Just wait. Be patient. I'm like, no. There's got to be a way to hack this. There's got to be a way to... There's so many humans on the planet. There's got to be a way for me to find some of the top people that would be a great partner for me and then just make it happen. Like, I don't like the uncertainty of just like, you know what, just it'll happen. Don't worry. No. I heard a story of this entrepreneur. My friend Chris, actually, previous housemate, the one that was also did the Darkness Retreat with me, he told me about this guy who did a newspaper ad. He was an entrepreneur, he was a marketer. He did a newspaper ad and found his wife through that, because he basically just built a marketing funnel for that. He's like, I want to get a wife just the same way that I would hire an employee or whatever, but let me build a funnel here. Put up a newspaper ad. Tons of women applied, and he narrowed it down, went on a bunch of dates, and then he found his wife, right? And if you think about it, dating is like a funnel. It's like a marketing funnel. And whether you want it to or not, it is. You going out socializing, that's the top of funnel. You get in some traffic, and then, you convert some to go deeper into the funnel where you get the number, you go on dates and whatnot. Recently, a friend of mine, I'm probably not going to share his name and whatnot, but he posted on Facebook, he went on 120 first dates in 16 months. And I met him throughout those months, just like, hey, how's it going? Yeah, just, keep going on dates. It's just like meeting some cool people, but not quite yet. Finally found his wife, the person that he wants to now spend his life with. I know this is something that's near and dear to your heart as well.
Yeah, 100%.
Something that you're actively so tell me where you're at right now. What's your funnel? Let's strategize this, because I have a bunch of stories of entrepreneurs who've hacked this, and I'm actually one of them. I've done something in the past that, again, was like a viral YouTube attempt, but kind of worked. I learned a bunch of things. But tell me where you're at right now, and then let's figure out how we can set up a strategy for you to put a ring on you and somebody else.
Dude, listen, I love the stories. I love like creating new stories that are like epic, I don't like the whole like dating app, like, oh yeah, I found her on a dating app. I mean, yeah, I support anybody who did it, but it just doesn't have like that ring to it. I think for me, man, and I think we've discussed this, options aren't the issue. And it's like getting a girlfriend isn't the issue. It's finding a wife that's difficult. And I'm a
Finding a
firm
life
believer.
partner.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I think this is one of the most important decisions of your life. And I think a lot of people just jump in carelessly. And I think they mistake love for excitement. And not even just love, like in terms of compatibility for excitement. Where you meet this person, it's amazing, you get excited, and then you correlate that to compatibility, love, and then you say, this is the person I want to spend the rest of my life with, when in reality, you don't actually know them. You guys haven't asked the right question, you haven't connected on that deep level, and you haven't seen them go through the ringer. Because I feel like you really truly get to know somebody when they have experienced a high level of suffering or pain in front of you, and you see how they react to those situations, and then how you guys both react to those situations together, and how you either lift each other up or bring each other down. So I think for me, one of the big things is I meet a lot of great women. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm very blessed and grateful. The only thing is sometimes I feel like it's like we don't match at a consciousness level. And I think me and you, we get along well because we can have stupid conversations, but we can also get really, really deep, but we can also have business conversations. And it kind of goes everywhere where there is no filter. And we can keep going on this podcast for another 3 hours or 4 hours, and we can still have stuff to talk about. And I think ideally, I want to be able to have that with somebody that, one, I'm attracted to, very attracted to, where I wake up every day and I'm like, I'm very grateful to have somebody that I love to look at, but I also love to talk to and connect with at that deeper level. And while I do find some girls that are very attractive and I date them, we can't connect at that level. Or the people that I connect with at that level, I'm usually not the most attracted to. So it's kind of like that balance.
This is why you need a funnel. This is why you need a funnel.
Hit me. I'm open.
All right. First story is my own.
Okay.
I tried to hack this. Not because, yes, I was like, I'd be open for finding a really great person. But again, I was addicted to views. I wanted my channel to pop. This was one of the first videos that I made on my channel, which is I put up a billboard to find a girlfriend. Terrible video looking back at it. Please don't look it up. I cringe very much when I watch it now, but it was a cool idea. When I came up with the idea, unfortunately, there was already someone who had done it. So I didn't copy the idea, but it's not this like crazy thing that no one's ever thought of. But this is basically it right here. I put up this billboard right here. This is what it looked like. And it was at a cheap location. And it was very simple. My face, yes. For those who are just listening, this is a billboard at a cheap location. I got this billboard for like $1,500 for a month, and it stayed up for like 2 or 3 months because nobody else was booking it.
Love it.
So, but I went to that billboard in person, shot the video. It says single date Leon, and then apply at dateleon.com. It sent them to a website where they would apply. There was a bunch of other funny stuff about me on the website. And then, went to an application. The results. What do you think happened?
Dude, I'm hoping you at least got like 40 girls to apply.
Over 1,000 applications.
Ooh.
Now, here's the thing.
That was a bad picture. Imagine if they looked at you now. Wow.
I think
No,
I should
just kidding.
recreate it. I'm off the menu now, but over 1,000 applications. The thing is, what didn't do it was the billboard. What did it was the internet, because that thing went viral. It was on TV, on local television. This local TV guy came over. It went crazy viral on Facebook. This was my first exposure to getting hated online, because it was shared by these people who like literally. I looked at the comments and it was unstoppable. It was a new comment every minute, and it was like boom, 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 and it was 2/3 of it was extremely negative. It was like, this guy is disgusting. He's objectifying women. I'm like, what? I put myself on a billboard like an advertisement here. I'm objectifying myself. People calling me, just like a predator and stuff like that, like weird things, and just like people accusing me of like trafficking. And it's just like, what? But it was wild. It was a wild experience. Now, it went viral on Facebook, and so a lot of people applied through that. They weren't located in Austin, or not even in the US. A lot of guys as well.
Love that.
Dude, I just have it. I have the baby face. I have, I have the proportions. I have a nice booty. I squat. So I think it's just hits the spot for guys who are into guys. A lot of women will assume you're doing this because nobody likes you, and that's so unattractive. So it has to be positioned in a way where, hey, I'm just looking for something very specific. So that was my story. Recently, I saw this guy as well here that I want to share with you, that we'll see what his results are, but he seems like a very, very wholesome man. And it's just this guy posting on X. He's like, hey, my name is Gabe, and I'm looking to meet the love of my life. And he's just writing a full-on dating profile on Twitter. And it's got almost 1 million views now. We'll see how he does, but he's a handsome fella. He seems like a good man, well put together.
I love that.
Right? And just like, I don't know, wholesome.
Is he getting roasted?
I don't know. No, here's the thing. He gets a bunch of comments from men who are saying, hey, good on you. Like, he's, putting yourself out there.
Not predator?
From women, not yet.
This is one of the best docs I've came across. Yeah, wow, this is beautiful. Thank you so much. This is giving inspiration compared to you, where it's just like, wow. Listen, bro, I think the jaw did change things. I'm just saying.
Oh, what's that?
I think you went from predator to like attractive with the jaw. That's
So what Imad is mentioning is, I built a jawline a little bit from chewing this really tough gum. This is the last one that I have. I'm going to show it to you, and maybe I'll bring it up in the podcast again if people are interested. But this is a specific brand that I've been chewing for over a year that I think has really built my jaw. If you look at all the videos. But we'll get into that in another podcast if there's interest. But yeah, if I were to do it again now, I think even just getting older is more attractive, right? But I don't know. I think we'll see how this guy does with his thing. But I think so far it seems like there's only dudes commenting, like, "Oh, great on, like, good on you," and then the women who are commenting are like, "Oh, yes, someone will like you." So
yeah,
we'll see.
You know what's crazy? I see that all the time. Whereas some of these, like, I think people are so afraid to put themselves out there. When in reality, it's like somebody will like you. In the reality, sometimes they are the person that would like them, but they're so afraid to be put in that situation where it's like, I'm not desperate enough to go and talk to somebody who's also desperate.
Or even looks desperate.
But like, he is the one who's courageous and trying to be vulnerable, put himself out there. I think that's kind of like the disconnect. What's interesting is my friend, so it's funny because my friend has one of the biggest dating events in all of Austin. He runs it. And I don't know if you've heard of the thing. I was there yesterday. It's called Pitch a Friend.
Pitch a Friend, where basically you hype up a friend of yours on why they're a great partner.
He created this event, and basically, so the funny thing is, I actually sent him the original Instagram reel that gave him the idea to do this. And I'm like, dude, You're thinking of creating an event. You already have one of the biggest events for like happening in Austin. You should make one of these in Austin because he does events. And he built it, and the first one got 1,000 people to show up to, and now it's like I think yesterday we had like I think 800 or 900, where the demand for it is insane. Like they've had 3 so far. I was pitched at the second one. Here's the positive and the negative. Okay, incredible idea, and I think there's more value in being in that space and meeting people in that space. Because there's signs who's single, who's not, who's looking to talk, who's not. So it makes it easier and you can break the ice a lot faster. If you're getting pitched, the thing that's difficult about it is you're trusting your friend that's in there, but you also, when you get up there, you're like a show pony where everybody's looking at you. Some people are just staring at you from a distance. Some people might actually approach you. And a lot of people you might get might not be the really attractive ones that you really want to reach out to you. Most likely won't. They might look at you, and you have to go and talk to them.
In your case.
Well, one of my friends is also
Chew the gum.
was more.
Chew the
Listen.
gum.
One of my friends was really handsome, and same thing happened. He actually got dates, but he had to go to the girls that saw his presentation, and he had to basically have a conversation with them before them coming to him. Like I got a bunch of DMs and a bunch of stuff, and I was like, I mean, yeah, you're cool. One girl was actually at the club up top. And she wasn't even part of the event. She just saw my thing pop up and she messaged me. She was cute. But again, nothing like happened out of it.
I would love to get involved, honestly. I think this could be super fun. And yeah, I mean, I would love to help support this thing, bring more traffic and eyeballs to it through the channel.
Well,
maybe.
let's pitch somebody.
Yeah, let's pitch somebody, maybe from the audience. You can apply, send a comment. I don't know, send me a DM on Instagram if you're in Austin. Let's make it happen. Or if you're down to come to Austin. This next idea here is next level from this entrepreneur. This guy built a dating app where he's the only man available on the platform.
Amazing. Amazing.
Right.
That's incredible.
So, I mean, did it work? Who knows? You can get away with it for a while, probably.
No.
Wow.
No. I mean, what would it matter? They're not going to swipe right at me anyway.
31-year-old could put his finger on
What a
exactly
savage.
he doesn't like about dating apps.
The biggest problem with the other apps is that my face is not featured prominently.
To cut down on competition, he created a new app called Singularity, where he's the only guy allowed on it. No matter how many times you swipe, it's only different versions of his picture.
If life gives you lemons, like your personality, for example, you should first make lemonade, and then you make sure that no other companies can produce or distribute their own soft drinks.
Damn, this guy's fucking genius. I love this guy. Dude, this guy came straight from Dan Peña's seminar.
100%.
Created with the help of
100%.
his best friend and
Nothing
software
phases him.
engineer, Scott McDowell.
When you're roasted by Dan Peña, nothing on the internet can hurt you anymore.
Jokes aside, here's my take on the whole like find your life partner thing. I think this is a data problem. Let me explain. If I was single and I was looking for the one, I know, okay, they should be in Austin, ideally, or even just in the US. So, and they should be a certain age range, right? From there, and they should be single, of course. With that, we already have it narrowed down to like how many women? Like, I don't know, 1 million, 2 million in the US, 10 million? I have no idea. I'm not going to do the math now, but it's narrowed down by a bunch. If I narrow it down to Austin, it's going to be, I don't know, 100,000. If from there, I know personally, if a girl's into meditation, it tells me so much about her. It tells me that she's growth-minded, which is one of the deal breakers for me. She has to be growth-minded. She has to be health-conscious. If you meditate, it already tells me, one, you're growth-minded, because you can't be not growth-minded and be into meditation, because it's literally about improving your mind and how you move through the world. Tells me you take care of yourself. It tells me that you probably have good self-awareness and self-reflection. So many good things. So if there was some sort of data set that I could tap into where, okay, they're single, they're in Austin, there's this age range, and they're into meditation, it narrows it down to, I don't know, a few thousand. And then from there, if I can just go and meet those women, I would have so many incredible options, I think. But the struggle is just, where do I find them? So there's got to be some sort of dating app or some sort of funnel that you can build for yourself, or an app that you can build where you're the only guy, where whatever you're looking for, whatever a few data points are, it narrows it down so well. And the same thing for women, right? If you're a woman out there listening, like, what are the things that if a guy does this, it ticks all the other boxes? And what's the one thing that makes everything else like done? It just ticks all the other boxes. And then just finding a way to find those people. Because this is basically what funnel building in a business is about, right? It's like identifying, okay, who are the people that have this pain, that need this product, that meet these criteria of having these financial resources to invest into this, and they're also located here. Like, there's got to be a way to do that with human beings. And for anyone out there who says, listen, love is just about, it has to happen naturally. It's like, okay, cool, great for you. I like to take control of my destiny and my life. And so I don't know. I think the chances just get way better. What do you think?
No, I think, when people say, yeah, let your partner find you, I think there has to be like a balance. I agree with you. Like, it's like, if you just sit at home, your partner is not going to be the pizza delivery girl who just comes in and like knocks on your door and she's like perfect, or
she's not going to be your plumber.
100%. And I think you're going to have to put yourself in places where you're going to increase the chances of you winning. It's kind of like, when poor people hang around poor people, they stay poor. And when rich people hang around rich people, they find opportunities to constantly get rich. So it's like, if you want to elevate your status, whether it's in wealth, whether it's in relationships, you got to put yourself in places where people from that same caliber, people that you want to connect with or grow with, are there. So you can accidentally run into them, have conversation with them, potentially date them. So it's like, even people that use dating apps, they're still taking action. You're putting yourself in a place where you're going to find a significant other. When people go to bars, you're still taking action to, anywhere you go. And it's like, and then even if you go to the supermarket and you actually decide to get the courage and have a conversation, you're still putting yourself in a place to meet people. There always has to be a level of like intention plus action to back it up, in my opinion.
What I find fascinating about these entrepreneurial stories of people who literally build a funnel, like, there's a bunch of guys who know Facebook ads as well, and they run a Facebook ad on Facebook, Instagram, whatever platform to find a partner. Like, there's multiple stories out there like that. If you talk to any of these guys and they heard about an entrepreneur approaching it that way, where they're just like, customers, I just let them come to me and just like, I just talk to people and see what fits. Just like you just tell them like, yo, you need a predictable way of getting leads. And I think the same should apply for when you're intentionally looking for a partner. And I know there's the whole idea of, hey, when you're looking, it's going to be harder. I don't know. It depends. I think it's the dichotomy of, or the opposites of having a high intent and low attachment. High intent, low attachment, where you're like, my intention is to find someone. I'm not attached though, because when you're too attached, it's unattractive. But what do you think? What's your strategy right now? You told me that's one of your big goals right now. Like, hey, let me find someone that I can share my life with. Am I wrong with this?
Dude, I joined cults. That's the thing. Well,
join cults, personal development cults.
Yeah, personal development cults. I join communities. We like to call them cults because everything's a cult. But I like joining communities, like personal development communities. I did the whole dancing thing where I'm a big salsa dancer and bachata dancer. And while I would find a lot of women there, I don't like to shit where I eat. So it's like, I also still like going dancing. And if I date a lot of these girls, it's like, you kind of create this reputation. It wasn't the smartest. Plus also the dance community is, I don't want to say anything to offend people. It's not the most conducive for long-term relationships, from what I've seen. So it wasn't really kind of my cup of tea. And then you did like sports, or I'd like joined like soccer things, and it was great. But there's a lot of men, and like all the women that would come, you know what I mean? Like 3 women
so
or 4 women.
Like you joining a team, you're like, wait,
like co-ed. Yeah, you join like you join the co-ed, and there's a couple of women, but usually the women are like boyfriends with the players there, and their boyfriends bring them on. You can find a couple here and there, but I mean, like, and the other ones, some of them weren't like my type. So that was kind of another thing. Or the entrepreneurship group. But the entrepreneurship group, the thing about it is you find a lot of boss babes. not my cup of tea. Listen, man, I do like when a girl tries to sell herself to me and tell me that, hey, I have a degree and I make this much money. I don't really care. I make good money. I don't care about your degree. For me, I care about your kindness. Like the biggest thing I look for in a woman is like, are they kind? Can we have great conversation? And can we just have fun? You know, and I think a lot of people, there are a lot of women like in the entrepreneur space, the boss babes, they're super successful. They're very into their masculine. I believe there's a balance. I feel like sometimes I'll be in my feminine, you be in your masculine. Sometimes I'll be in my masculine, you be in your feminine. I don't believe like I'm always in my masculine, you're always in your feminine. I think that's stupid.
But there's a default. There's a home.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I want somebody
it's not that you're insecure. I think that's what a lot of boss babes experience is that, like these men get insecure around me. My experience is I'm not insecure. I want to be bros with you. I want to be friends with you. You know, it's like I'm inspired by you and it's cool, but I don't feel polarity. I don't feel attracted to you.
That's spot on. You said something really interesting. I believe that the person it's not interesting anymore. I believe the person that I want to date, I have to admire. So like if I find a boss babe who also has an extremely nurturing side that can tap into that, sexy. Again, don't get me wrong. I found some extremely successful women that can tap into that when they're in their masculine, they can go back into their feminine. I think it's sexy. But it's so hard to go to work, come back, and detach from that consistently. You know, because after a while, it puts a toll on you. You know, so it's, again, like I said, not to knock, some of the boss babes are extremely attractive. They're just, you know, and great people, but yeah, not my personal cup of tea.
What I'm hearing is we're building you a funnel.
Love it.
Running paid ads to a landing page, hyping you up,
To a
filtering
dating app.
Yes, dating app where you're the only one, filtering women down to the core values that you're looking for, and then you have very qualified applicants that you can go on dates with, and you find your wife. And I'm going to be your best man because I had the idea.
This is it.
And I get 10% of everything that you make.
Wow. I should sign a prenup with you instead of her at this point.
I get 10% of the children that you guys make.
Okay, cool. What, you get a leg? Maybe a hand?
No, you guys make 10 children and I have one and I get free labor from them.
You sound like a deal with the devil. This is literally what this sounds like. You're Satan coming into my life being like, I'll help you find your wife in exchange for your firstborn child.
Listen, I learned this at a seminar that I went to by a guy who's really good at making deals and acquisitions. And
got it. Scotland?
tough as a motherfucker. It was in Scotland.
Sign me up.
Perfect. We're going to go sign up for the QLA seminar right now, and you'll see us in the next podcast talking about that. Have fun. Stay driven. I'm going to go and put on pants now. I haven't been wearing pants this whole time.
Love you guys.
Peace.